I'm Omar Kenyatta Clark, an advocate, overcomer, and hope speaker who's faced life's hardest challenges head on. On this podcast, I bring you honest conversations, real stories, and practical wisdom to help you heal, grow, and rise stronger than ever. This is Voices of Hope, where we turn struggle into strength, pain into purpose, and isolation into connection. If you're ready to break free from what's holding you back, achieve true success, and become the best version of yourself, get ready for a journey like no other. Let's ride. My brothers and sisters, we are living through a national emergency, a crisis that strikes with the sound of gunfire and leaves behind silence. Deafening silence. The kind of silence that fills a mother's kitchen when her son doesn't come home. The silence in a classroom once full of laughter, now filled with grief. The silence in a community that has grown used to candlelight vigils, makeshift memorials, and hashtags instead of healing. Gun violence in America has become more than just a public safety issue. It's an existential threat to our collective soul. We've seen it erupt in schools, malls, churches, concerts, and neighborhoods, both rich and poor. It knows no boundaries, but its impact, that is not equal. The headlines scream when mass shootings take place in suburban towns. But in the shadows of society, in inner cities, and forgotten neighborhoods, gun violence is not an event. It's a daily reality. And for Black Americans, especially Black men like myself, this reality has become a nightmare that repeats itself generation after generation. Let me be clear. Gun violence is not random. It is systemic. It is racial. It is deeply rooted in the very soil of America's original sin. Gun violence does not simply take lives. It takes pieces of us. A bullet tears through more than flesh. It shreds futures, families, and faith in one another. And even when a bullet misses, it leaves a mark. According to studies, children exposed to gun violence, even indirectly, report skyrocketing levels of anxiety, depression, and PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. In fact, the American Psychological Association has shown that exposure to neighborhood violence increases the risk of chronic health issues like heart disease, asthma, and even early death. This is trauma not just of the body, but of the mind, of the spirit, and of entire communities. And as a people of faith, we cannot ignore this. The Lord commands us in Isaiah chapter 1, verse 17, learn to do right, seek justice, defend the oppressed, take up the cause of the fatherless, plead the case of the widow. That's not just a suggestion. That's a charge. That's a divine call to act. Let's talk plainly, because the numbers don't lie. In the last decade, over 80,000 Black Americans have been killed by guns. In 2023 alone, the firearm homicide rate for Black males aged 15 to 34 was nearly 10 times higher than that for white males of the same age group. This isn't just a disparity. This is a declaration of neglect. And the danger doesn't always wear a hoodie or drive a rival set of colors. Sometimes it wears a badge. Between 2017 and 2023, over 1,050 Black people were killed by police. The rate, 35 per million. For white Americans, just 14. This isn't just a broken system. It's a system working exactly as it was designed. And yet, in the face of all this pain, we're told to be silent. We're told to be grateful. We're told it's not about race. But I cannot be silent because Proverbs 31, chapter 31, verses 8 through 9 tells me, speak up for those who cannot speak for themselves. Defend the rights of the poor and the needy. So I speak today for my people. I speak for Trayvon Martin, for Tamir Rice, for Breonna Taylor, for George Floyd, for every unnamed soul whose story didn't make the news, but whose blood cries out from the ground. But make no mistake, this crisis goes deeper than bullets. The deeper sickness behind gun violence is not just physical, it's spiritual. It's not just about policies, it's about identity. At the root of the epidemic lies a long and brutal legacy of dehumanization. Since the founding of this nation, black people, especially black men, have been portrayed as less than human. First as property, then as threats, then as criminals. Today, those same narratives play out in the courtroom, the newsroom, the classroom, and the street. We were stripped of our languages, our gods, and our names. And even when the chains fell off our wrists, many of us remained chained in the mind, taught to see ourselves as inferior, to question our worth, to internalize the very lies that enslaved our ancestors. That's why this fight against gun violence must also be a fight for mental emancipation. As long as black children are taught to fear their reflection, to see themselves as dangerous before they see themselves as divine, the cycle will continue. As long as the world views us through a lens of suspicion instead of sacredness, it will continue to justify our deaths. God created mankind in his own image. We are not thugs. We are not threats. We are image bearers of the divine. Mental emancipation begins with reclaiming that truth, because the most powerful weapon ever used against us was not the whip or the gun. It was the lie. The lie that said we were not worthy. The lie that said we were not human. But that lie ends here. We will no longer accept crumbs of dignity from a table we built. We will no longer beg to be seen. We will rise, knowing we were never meant to shrink to fit someone else's fear. We are more than survivors. We are sons and daughters of liberation. We are heirs of a kingdom that cannot be shaken. But if racism is the disease, indifference is the cancer that lets it metastasize. Think of Officer Derek Chauvin's face as he pressed his knee into George Floyd's neck. Not angry, not hateful, just indifferent. That cold, blank stare while a man begged for air. Elie Wiesel once said, "The opposite of love is not hate. It is indifference." And that indifference lives not only in officers, but in policies and media and even pews that remain silent when they should be screaming. The Apostle James gave us a challenge in James chapter 2, verses 14 through 17. What good is it, my brothers and sisters, if someone claims to have faith, but no deeds? Faith by itself, if it is not accompanied by action, is dead. You say you care? Then act. March, vote, mentor, interrupt the violence. Demand the change. Because faith without works is a corpse. So what do? We begin at the root. If racism is the seed and gun violence is the fruit, then justice must be the gardener. We need systemic healing, not band-aids over bullet wounds, but a reimagining of what it means to live in community, in dignity, in peace. First, we must educate to liberate. The truth about America's racial history must no longer be optional curriculum. Our children deserve to know the full story, not to create guilt, but to cultivate wisdom. When students understand the legacy of redlining, mass incarceration, and economic exclusion, they begin to see that today's violence didn't appear out of thin air. It was engineered. And what is engineered can be dismantled. Next, we must train with intention. Every school, police department, and public institution should require implicit bias and cultural humility training, not as a checkbox, but as a commitment. We cannot change what we refuse to confront, and we cannot confront what we do not see. But healing also begins at the heart. That's why we must invest in social emotional learning, SEL, not just for students, but for communities. SEL teaches children how to regulate emotions, resolve conflict, and build empathy. Children who are taught how to name their feelings don't need to use violence to express them. This is not just education, it's prevention, it's peacemaking, it is planting seeds of compassion that can bear fruit for generations. We must also expand community-based violence intervention programs like Cure Violence, which is a program that reframes violence as a public health issue. These programs hire violence interrupters, credible messengers, often people who have walked the same streets, carried the same pain, and now serve as living proof that transformation is possible. They mediate disputes before bullets fly. They don't just interrupt violence, they restore hope. But programs alone are not enough. We need to rebuild trust in the systems that have broken so many promises. That means reforming policing with real accountability. That means divesting from punishment and reinvesting in opportunity. Mental health services, trauma recovery centers, after-school programs, job pipelines, and mentorship. And above all, we must reimagine our moral foundation. What if we taught every child, not just in church, but in school and at home, that they were created in the image of God? What if we didn't just punish violence, but cultivated peace? What if we didn't just survive together, but healed together? Let us be honest. America is not just suffering from a gun problem. It is suffering from a soul wound. Gun violence is the symptom. Racism is the root. Indifference is the enabler. But there is still time. There is still breath in our lungs, power in our voices, and grace in our reach. And so we rise, not with vengeance in our hands, but with vision in our hearts. We rise as poets of peace and prophets of justice. We rise to tell a new story where Black children grow up not fearing sirens, but dreaming freely, where mothers do not have to bury their sons, where neighborhoods are no longer crime scenes, but sacred spaces of creativity, community, and care. We rise because we believe the kingdom of heaven isn't just up there. It's something we can build down here. Lord, let your kingdom come. Let your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. And we rise because we believe the words of Paul in Romans chapter 12, verse 21. Do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good. Let that be our anthem. Let that be our mission. Let that be our testimony. Because good is still possible. Justice is still possible. Love is still possible. And so I say, don't grow weary in well-doing. Don't let the darkness make you doubt the dawn. Don't you dare give up. We are the answer to our ancestors' prayers. We are the dream that refused to die. We are the generation that will turn mourning into movement and pain into power. So let's rise together. Let's heal together. And let's build an America where every life is sacred and every neighborhood is safe. Thank you. And may God guide our hands as we repair, what has been broken. Thank you for joining me today. If this episode spoke to your heart, share it with someone who needs encouragement, healing, or a reminder that they're not alone. You can follow me on Facebook at Omar Kenyatta Clark or Instagram and YouTube at omar.kenyatta for more inspiration, updates on the Omega Principles, and behind the scenes from this journey. Remember, true success isn't just about what you achieve, it's about who you become. So keep rising, keep healing, and above all, keep walking with purpose. I'm Omar Kenyatta Clark, and this is just the beginning. Until next time, let's rise.